My name is Cody Kraus, and I'm a real estate broker owner that's obsessed with everything real estate. Investing, building, selling, developing, farming, you name it. I've been doing this since I was 18 years old, and I've learned a ton through trial and error, and I've met some of the coolest people ever. This is a show where I invite these people on to talk about their experiences and mine, plus everything else real estate. Let's go. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Everything Real Estate Show. This is going to be a fun episode because if you've seen this show before, it looks awesome. And I can't owe any of the production quality or anything like that to myself because I don't do any of this. So I have hired Mel and Jer of MelandJer Creative to tackle that for me, and they've done a great job with it. And so today I actually have Mel on the show, and Jer is sitting behind us on the camera working the TV angles and the production and all that kind of stuff. So for anybody who doesn't know Mel and Jer, Mel, who is Mel and Jer?
Well, hey, Cody, thanks for having me on the show today. I'm a mom of two beautiful daughters, and I've been married to my best friend for over 20 years, who happens to also be my business partner.
Awesome.
So he's the Jer in MelandJer Creative, and this kind of started as a side hobby years ago when our first daughter was born.
Like an interest in photography?
Yeah, we've always done some dabbling with photos and video just personally.
Yep.
We would shoot vacations and kind of get creative with that kind of stuff. But then when our daughter was born, we hired a professional photographer, and it was quite expensive.
Yep.
And we thought, we want to create these photos all the time. So we went out and bought our first DSLR at that time.
Yep.
And it kind of just grew from there. It became a passion that we ended up getting requests a lot for friends and family photos.
Hey, come to our Christmas card.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it turned into weddings and that kind of thing. But at that time, being who we are in our personalities, we were always wanting to upgrade to the newest equipment and kind of improve our skills. And so it wasn't a cheap hobby to do.
Got to figure out how we can write this off.
Yeah. So, and it was just on the side at that time. We both had jobs. Jer had a really good full-time profession, actually with infrared cameras.
Okay.
Which is funny. And so we just said, what if we actually charge people when they ask for us to do photos, and it just fuels our hobby. And it grew from there. We got asked to do video production for a professional speaker one time, and I said, that's not really what we do. And I remember her questioning me. She was a coach too, so she was a absolutely lovely woman, but a little bit confrontational in conversation because that's what she does.
Yep.
She's like, is it not what you do because it's not what you actually want to do, or is it because you're afraid? Like, are you holding back? She said. And I was a little bit upset by that. I was like, who are you to tell me?
Yeah.
But then Jared and I talked about it, and we're like, why aren't we doing it? And we looked at it, and it was like, because we always wanted to do things properly. And the camera that we had wasn't really set up for video. It wasn't set up for long productions. So what did we do? We upgraded.
Yep.
We did the job. We got a job from that job for a local comedian who was raising money for cancer. So we shot that. And he had a business. So we ended up shooting his business. And then we quickly realized that everything that we had learned in our corporate world with like sales and marketing was really where we wanted to be.
Okay.
There's a lot of fantastic photographers out there that do weddings and families. But for us, it was more finding out the pain points in people's businesses and helping them address them and helping them grow that really kind of fueled our creativity. Okay,
so let me pull a few things out of your story here real quick. So one theme is the old do what you love, you'll never work another day in your life kind of deal. So obviously you guys are doing what you love and you're good at it. The next thing I would say is that you kind of hit on when you were talking with the professional speaker there. I love how she was pushing you to get out of your comfort zone, but I'm probably a person who would say, okay, yeah, no problem, I'll do it. But you had a complex of, well, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well. I'm not just going to, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. So I guess the importance of professional representation, you only get one time to make your first impression.
That's right.
And I mean, that's a huge part of what you do right now is represent people, houses, businesses online before people actually meet them, walk through the house, buy something from their business, all that kind of stuff. Do you want to speak to those themes maybe a little bit more?
Absolutely. They're over 90% of people are looking online before they shop. So not just in real estate, for everything.
Okay.
Absolutely everything. And those statistics I found on several sites. So I'm a stats girl. I like to look stuff up just to kind of back up, my thoughts and see, am I right or am I totally out to lunch? And so what I tell people when they come in for any business, whether it's real estate or they're building their brand, you're building a brand whether you think you are or not. So whether you took the time to get professional photos or a professional headshot, you're building a brand. Because if the only photo someone finds of you before they come to the meeting with you is you in sweatpants, partying online.
Your grade 12 graduation
That's
photo.
their first impression. And it's the same that goes with...
so it's a brand. It's just a bad brand.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's out there. So I think it's really important. They say you have 20 seconds to capture people's attention online. So that's, with your pro photos with real estate.
And that would cover like your website, your social media, your YouTube channel. We have very, very short attention spans.
We do. It's sad, but it's true because there's just so much being consumed at such a rapid rate that's just what our brains are accustomed to.
Yeah.
Like even some of these nostalgic movies from when we were little and we try to watch them now, I watch them with our kids. They can't even sit through them because they're just, the pace is not what
it's not what we're
used
used to. You think of TikTok and like even just their logo looks like it's vibrating and I think it's supposed to.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really do want to make that first impression count.
Yeah.
Because people are going to scroll on.
So I guess on that note of looking your best, first impressions, all that kind of stuff. If I'm advertising a house online, which is a lot of what we do, and that's how obviously I got introduced to you guys, and I'm but I'm going to be the consumer. What would you give it as far as advice to a realtor? Okay, Cody's looking at buying a home. He's starting his search online. What's important to represent about a property? What do you want me to take in about the property? Is it just pictures of the kitchen, formatting? Do we want video? Do we want drone? Do we want Matterport? Do we need iGuide? Like, what do you need the consumer to get from the media that you're producing for the homeowner and the realtor to try and sell the house?
Okay, I can speak to that in so many different ways. I'm going to throw a few stats out. Listings with professional photos did sell 32% faster.
Okay.
So from the agent side of things, that's good. Now, from the buyer side of things, professional photos at the very least, I should say, from an agent side of like what's the bare bones that you should have.
Yep.
Now, Matterport and video are really good add-ons for different reasons. So
wait, professional photos, that could mean very different things to very different people, right?
It could be a sliding scale, for sure.
Do you want to maybe speak to, like, it even goes into not even the actual taking of the picture, but formatting it right for the source that it's being displayed on, all that kind of stuff. Like, to you, what defines professional photography?
We take the time to be intentional with every angle, and we think about how would this property be marketed?
Okay.
What are the best features? How can I get artistic with this shot while still showcasing the property without any misrepresentation?
Yep.
And how can we create the best possible product for our clients, for our sellers as well? And it doesn't stop at photos. I mean, it leads to the other tools with like, how is this going to fit in with the entire package, with the video, with the Matterport 3D tour?
Yep.
How can we do the best job possible to create a feeling as though we're there or we want to be there?
And so for the home seller, you're telling me, well, and the realtor, you're telling me it's going to sell the home quicker and it's going to get me more money. Now, putting my shoes in the consumer and the buyer, I would say we really started using the 3D tours heavily during COVID. One thing that I found that was a benefit to the consumer was that you wouldn't have to go see the home 2 or 3 times to remember the layout. Mm-hmm. A lot of people knew the layout before they actually came to see the home. And so that's something that we've kept since the pandemic. And I do believe is a benefit to the consumer, which would be the potential home buyer, is I'm really familiar with the house now. I'm not forgetting, oh, where was the door for that room? Or, you know, was the third bedroom on the first floor or the second floor? Like when you walk through a home for the first time, the layout can be really confusing. But now if we've studied the layout in depth online, and the other thing I would say too is if you're relocating to an area, like I think we're having a provincial and a federal election probably coming up in 2025. So I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people that work in government moving from Toronto to Ottawa or Ottawa to Toronto. And it could probably save me 4 hours of driving if I know, oh, those room sizes aren't going to work for me, right? It looked way bigger online in the photos,
Right.
but having the Matterport actually gives me rough size of room dimensions, all that kind of stuff too. I kind of rambled there, but do with that what you will.
Yeah, so the 3D tours was something that we started doing quite heavily during COVID as well, because you guys weren't really supposed to be doing open house, like you couldn't do open houses, right? And we were kind of weeding out the people that were coming through just to kind of keep things at a minimum. And it does weed out the tire kickers. So for some agents that don't want to use the 3D tour because they're like, well, no, I want to get them in the space. It's like, well, if it doesn't work for them, wouldn't it be nice to know that before you wasted their time and yours? You know?
The home seller's time and everybody's gas money.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've got to get all ready. So that's one thing I would say that you can't tell from the photos. So if we do get a photo-only package request from an agent, we try to show the layout in the photos as best we can. We will take those extra angles that'll kind of show the hallway from the one room so you can get a sense of it. But our home that we bought previous to the one we're in now had 2 different staircases. And we didn't know that until we went there. We couldn't figure out where. Okay. We're like, how did we get here? Like, these aren't the stairs we came up when we went back down. So that would have been interesting to have a virtual tour on. That would have been a cool one.
We just teleported to the next floor.
Yeah. This house is huge. But so I think the Matterport, the reason we landed on Matterport versus iGuide was because it's a digital twin.
Okay.
And what we liked about it was...
What does that mean?
The experience of it is just like if you were in the space. So you're not teleporting through walls. Yeah. You're walking like in the same path you would if you were a human, and you're walking through the doorways. And it's accurate. It uses LiDAR technology. I can't speak to the tech as much as Jer can, but it's all available online. And so we liked that. We liked the tools that were available in there. You used to be able to just measure the rooms, but now you can measure doorways, you can measure windows. We order custom floor plans for ours. So that gives you a 2D and a 3D layout, as well as a site map. So we'll take an overhead drone shot of the property, and that gives you kind of a bird's eye view of where everything's located, whether there's a pool or a shed or things like that. And I think every added tool is just helpful for planning, especially for out-of-town buyers.
Too. Like, it's not, you're sure, you're buying a house and it has a yard and whatever, but you're also buying the neighborhood, I guess, how close it is to the lake or a playground or a park or whatever. Yeah. So you get a lot better. It's great to see every detail of the house, and I think you get that with the Matterport, but adding the drone to it too, it's like, okay, no, now I know how close the neighbors are, where the nearest stop sign is, how far it is from the lake. Where's the busy highway? That might be a good thing or a bad thing, depending who I am. Like, it tells you a lot more about it. I want to go back to Matterport for a second, though, because Matterport, if anybody hasn't like played around with it, it's a pretty incredible tool. And I think it was developed to help sell houses, but I think it's going to have a lot of other uses in the near future. Maybe it already does, like in virtual reality, right? Like if you were booking a conference, for example, I would think that a lot of venues now would just have a Matterport. Here, go to this website, you can get a feel for the space, whatever, or put on goggles, virtual reality goggles, and walk through it. Yeah. I think there'd be a use for hospitals to help doctors understand, what's the quickest route to get to my surgery. Like, there's 1,000 uses for it. What are some things that you're seeing people do with Matterport that are above and beyond its original intent?
Well, we're using it for commercial spaces. Yep. That was something that we did quite a bit of, a little bit post-COVID. It wasn't happening right away, but quickly what people realized, they lost a lot of business. A lot of venues lost a lot of business being closed in that time.
Yep.
So we've been creating virtual tours to be able to showcase the space and then putting matter tags within it. So you can embed photos and videos in these tags within the space. So a good example would be like the Grovedale in Kingsville.
Yep.
I did that one. And then within the tags throughout it, we put all the stats that they would give to people during a tour, like the capacity, the fact that they have elevators that are wheelchair friendly, the kitchen access.
So the municipality could actually use that as an ongoing resource to, I guess, weed out people that, hey, it's not going to work for us because it doesn't have handicap accessibility or whatever.
Yep.
They could say, no, here's all the features that it has. I'm not going to waste any time showing it if it doesn't meet the requirements that you need for the event that you're putting on or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a link that they can send to people. It's also embedded in the Town of Kingsville website. And we did a few We did the Kingsville Pavilion as well.
Okay.
We've done the LaSalle Event Center, the new one.
Yep.
I think, I don't think we did the Volmer. We did photos of that one. But anyhow, it's been a really good tool for commercial spaces like that because you can embed media within it as a marketing tool, but then also it's also compatible with the goggles already, just like you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually used mine. We were renovating a multifamily property, and I had you guys go in and Matterport it, and I was actually able to use the layout that it generated in the application for a permit to get another apartment added to it. So they wanted a site plan. We had a site plan, but they wanted to know, okay, square footage, what's being added, where is it being added? So I was actually able to take the Matterport there. And I mean, someone could draw the layout by hand with a grid paper or whatever, but this saved a lot of time and the dimensions were pretty dang close to accurate. And I didn't have to disrupt the tenants, go through, measure all the rooms. I was able just to take the 2D floor plan for reference and use that along with my application for the permit for the municipality too.
Oh, that's really cool to hear. I know you did that for a few spaces, and we have had clients do that as well. If they know they're going to rent it out, they've had it Matterported first, and then, like you say, when it's tenanted later, you can show that to your next potential tenant if those ones, are, if their lease is coming up.
Or even short-term rentals, I could see that being a big thing too. Like if you're, high-end Airbnb, okay, what am I actually getting? I could see that being crucial. If someone's going to spend, $800,000 a night, whatever, to actually understand how let's say I'm planning a destination wedding and I need to house 10 families and I'm, renting a massive place in Orlando or something like that. It'd be beneficial a lot of times to see what I'm actually getting for a layout. I could see 15 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms on the ad, but I don't actually understand. Yeah,
or my kids sleeping in the hall, 2 levels up where I can't get to the baby in the night. No, we do short-term rentals quite a bit. Another thing we've done is when a builder has built a house, whether it's the homeowner or the builder, they've wanted to scan the property before the insulation goes in so that they can use that as a tool later to find all of their plumbing and their wiring, which is kind of neat.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then I just transfer that tour to them instead of paying like the monthly hosting. You can have one tour for free. So if you're not using it for commercial use, then that's something. Another area that Matterport is helpful is disaster restoration. So for insurance claims, you can go in, scan the whole space, and then they have that tool to continue to review for getting their trades in there and kind of assessing the damage. Obviously, it's not the same as being there, but it's just another tool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't think of. It makes a lot of sense, though. Okay, so the basics are quality photos. Try and show every angle of the house and make it true. And you don't want to hide the bad stuff. Like, people are going to see it when they get there anyways. So, like, let's not focus on it. But we don't want to, only take the good parts and leave out the bad parts. Because, again, they're going to see them when they get there. And I think that's what Matterport's great for, is it shows everything inside and outside. But then we talked about drone. Feature videos. That's a whole beast on its own now. So you guys do a lot of feature videos for houses, and that's everything from the basic with a walkthrough with a gimbal to elaborate dinner parties that are hosted to show off the different times of the day. You got, what do you guys call them when you're taking photos at night instead of
Twilight
photo? Yeah. Why don't you talk to all those different packages and why people might even want them?
Sure. So yeah, you can go so many different ways with video, especially with the social platforms now. You can add vertical video for Reels. There's all the different timestamps that you can kind of get them under to get them on different platforms and things like that. What I would probably say with video and how it differs from Matterport and why I love when agents do both is that we tend to, as humans, we tend to sell technically. So you and I are the same way. We very much like to have stats, and it takes the emotion out of it. It's like, here's the facts. But we're wired to buy emotionally.
It's true.
So video is something that can help you create a feeling. You're not going to get that from the Matterport.
Yep.
If it's a beautifully staged home, it's going to sell itself in that way. But you can't, have that vibe, that either slow pace or fast pace with a certain type of music with sound effects. Like, you can actually create a feeling with video.
Yeah. So same thing if you're featuring a business, right? Like, if you're featuring a restaurant, you want to see a family having a great time in the restaurant. And I think it comes back to, there's stats about like how much of our tone is lost in just text versus how much more we get in a phone call. but then how much more comes through in video versus in real life. And video is the closest thing you can get to real life, to sitting down next to each other and actually understanding my tone, and if I'm angry or if I'm joking or sarcastic or whatever.
Well, you get the auditory and the visual.
Yeah.
You get to touch on a few more senses.
Sorry, I interrupted you there. You were talking about
okay.
creating the emotion, because Matterport doesn't give you the emotional connection, but the
Yeah,
video
so
can.
with that, I like when agents do have both. Because then you have, like, if you have a husband and wife and one's like, I want to see the stats, I want to measure stuff, will our furniture fit? What's the layout? And then the woman's like, does this kitchen make me happy? It also has to
It's
function.
huge. Why wouldn't it?
But the form and function can meet, and you can use them in very different ways. So I do like video for that purpose. Also, you can add an agent intro. So it's really great for the agents to be able to grow their brand, to be able to get information out there. And you can use it as a tool as well. So you can spit your stats out and tell people all the things that are great about the space that maybe they can't see with their eye. Opportunities, zoning, just really key features. I think you got to capture them right away. But
like you said, 20 seconds. I think it might even be less, but
you're probably right. I think we probably have the attention span of a goldfish at this point.
I've heard that we do.
Yeah.
Or even that they might have a bigger attention span. But anyways.
Yeah. So video is great for that because, and the reason I do like when people use the Matterport as well is exactly what you said. So video, we can touch on all of the best features of the property. I think the goal for video would be to get people in the space. So I think less of the walkthrough videos that show the entire layout anymore, since we do have Matterport as a tool, and more like show the best features of that space. Get the people to come,
view.
Envision yourself in this home. It's more about the lifestyle. So that's when you come into like the dinner parties and the lifestyle videos. Obviously that's an upgrade. And that's something that you wouldn't do on every modest property maybe. But that's something that for a higher priced property that has a lot more to offer, it's more of a lifestyle that you're selling.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that kind of, I guess, covers the ranges of what you guys do. And I appreciate that you guys have always been like, I think back to the professional speaker that you worked for. You weren't against doing her video for her, but you wanted to make sure that it was done to like the best degree possible. So I was like, hey, guys, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. Do you want to produce a podcast for me? And you're like, well, we have microphones, but they're maybe not the best microphones. So I think the day before we recorded the first podcast, Jared drove to London to make sure, no, we need to be recording all three at the same time and no delays and all that kind of stuff. So, obviously you want to present your business, your product, your family, if you're doing social media photos, whatever, the best you can online. But there's something to be said about having the right tools for the job too. And confidence is great. But if you lack the proper tools to, I guess, actually take advantage of being put in that scenario to have that confidence in the first place. So why don't you speak to having the right tools to get the job done to, I guess, do what we're actually trying to do, which is present people and things professionally.
Yeah. So in our business, constantly, it's kind of cool. You and I have worked together for I think at least 6 years now.
At least, yeah.
And I feel like we've both grown our businesses. We've grown alongside each other and with each other in that time, which is really cool. And you guys, I think why it's been a great partnership too is you operate a lot in the same way. So whenever we grow, we are just constantly reinvesting back into the business to continue to grow. So we're always looking at, for us, we want to produce the best quality that we can while still being attainable for our local market.
Yeah.
So could I end up hiring out a team of 10 people where it's a full production and everyone's in charge of just one job? Sure. Would it be higher quality? Well, yeah, maybe if each of them were a specialist, if I had an audio engineer here, et cetera.
Yeah.
But would that be in your price point to do more than
Probably
one video
not.
a year? No.
Yeah.
So we're always looking at how we can improve our quality and our efficiency. So especially in real estate, how can we do the job faster without compromising on quality? And so usually that means
charging 3 times as much.
Usually that means an investment on our part, but that means that we can still do 3 jobs that day instead of 1, and we can still deliver the next day because of all the processes we've put in place. And so that comes down to the equipment that we use. It's not always the cheapest. and it's got to be portable.
Yep.
And we do photo and video, so it needs to work for both, right? So there's a lot of things to factor in, and depends on who you're talking to. Their day-to-day workflow might be different than ours, so their equipment needs might be different as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, you guys go into a lot of strange people's homes, and you work with a lot of realtors, and realtors are weird people. We're quirky, we're late for everything, and we're always last minute and that kind of stuff. What are some funny stories that you've had happen over the years? I'll start with one. We're having an office meeting the other day, and one of our, bless her heart, one of our nicest realtors and incredibly confident and humble at the same time, she had us put up this video she just had shot on the big screen TV in the office so that everybody could watch
who you're
it.
Talking about.
And she's like, guys, you gotta watch my new video.
Yeah.
And so everybody watched it, and she's like, so did you notice? Like, what was your favorite part?
Yeah.
And she made us watch it again, and we realized that her fly was down.
Yes. Yes.
And I think we put a big logo over top of it so that the viewers at home didn't have to see that. What are some other good stories that have happened over the years?
You know what? To be honest, most of our stories, the funny ones anyways, they're not really about the people. Like, we have some really awesome clients. Of course, there's been difficult situations and we've overcome them.
Yep.
But a couple of things that come to mind is I get to see the bloopers when Jer comes home. So he had this one time where he tells me this giant bug flew out of nowhere and landed on my face in the middle of a walkthrough video, and I fell down. And I was like, I have to see this, right?
Yeah.
So we go back and we play the video, and sure enough, he's like doing this like amazing slow movement with the gimbal, and this bug looks like it's like the size of the lens, and it comes flying straight at the camera, and you like see the camera crash onto the ground, and you hear Jer in the background. He goes, "Oh my goodness." He didn't even swear. And so then the camera lands on the ground and the bug lands right next to it. So like we got footage of this bug.
That's hilarious.
Which is funny. Another one happened where, so we have this agent that we shoot always with a lockbox. So they're never there. They always leave a lockbox or the doors open. And that's a common thing.
Yeah.
And I got a call from Cole. He's one of our photographers, as you know, that he's at this home and the door's locked. There's no lockbox. Okay, so go try the side door. So he tells me, I keep trying the side door, but there's like these security sprinklers and they're squirting me. And I didn't believe him because I had never heard of this before. So every time he reaches over the gate's locked. He's trying to get to the side door. And every time he tries to get in, he gets squirted.
With water.
Right? So I was like, I'm trying to call the agent. No one's answering. We can't figure out what's going on. And I'm thinking like, it's got to be a coincidence. So no, he's getting like himself soaked at this point, and I'm like, well, you're gonna ruin your equipment, so don't keep trying.
Thousands of dollars in cameras.
Yeah, it's all in a backpack. But then the cops show up, so they had a security system, and this is a thing apparently that deters people, and it's like a sprinkler system, and it turns out the agent gave us the wrong address.
Oh, so it's the wrong house altogether.
Yeah. So, but the best story of all was when Jer went to this house. It was a big farm in the country. Door open, same thing. He had a note from the realtor, front door will be open. Okay, no problem. So he shows up, he goes in, he starts shooting. Midway through the house, he's already shot half the house. He meets this little old man sitting at the table eating his lunch. Yep. And he's like, how are you today? And he's like, I'm great. How are you? And just eats his lunch, having great conversation with him. And so as Jer's shooting, he says, what are you going to do now that you're selling the farm? And then the man just stops. What do you mean I'm selling the farm? He says, well, I'm here working for the realtor. He goes, my boys are selling the farm out from under me? He had no idea. So he calls the realtor, wrong address, wrong road. This man
was just cool with
He was just so cool. That was the funniest part about it. He was so cool about it. He didn't even say anything. Like, he showed up and started photographing his house, and the guy's just like, I'm just going to eat my lunch while you do this.
That's fantastic.
That was one of the catalysts, actually, because we had so many wrong addresses that led us to getting our online booking platform.
Yeah.
Because the agents can verify that, they give me the right address, because it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you're listening, any of our realtors, double check your address.
Yeah. I remember before we hired you guys, I was like, you know what? These drone things are pretty cool. I'm gonna buy a drone. And I am not the most technically inclined person. I don't always read all the details and the instructions and stuff. So I didn't realize the importance of turning off the drone before you turn off the controller. The original DJIs that came out.
Okay.
So if you turned off the controller before the drone was turned off, it would just memory relocate to where it took off from.
Oh yeah, it went home.
Yeah, and so I'm underneath a tree in a yard in Wheatley, and I turned the controller off, and this drone just took off the ground and started flying towards a tree and towards the house. And I'm like, I don't know what to do right now. So I don't know why I decided to do this, but I decided to punch it out of the air. But I punched it through the propellers, and I like almost lost the end of my pinky.
Oh no!
Because those things used to be huge. Like the drones now are pretty tiny. Like you put them in almost your pocket. But those ones like came in a box with a case and everything, and they had like really hard plastic props.
They did.
I almost lost a finger.
Oh no!
Yeah.
But in that split second, you're like, what do I do? This thing's going to go do just some damage somewhere, land in somebody's yard.
Well, it was going to fly at the house and break a window or something. That's what I thought. So I'm like, okay. Anyways, technology has gotten better since then, and the drones have gotten smaller. And obviously there's big ones because they do other stuff with them now.
Yes.
But on the note of technology progressing and changing, I think that's a good spot to talk about virtual staging. So it's funny because we just had Steph and Mickey on talking about actually staging, and they're going through their wins and perils about, literally dragging furniture around and in between houses, getting a box fan, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and I love actual staging because it presents in person. So when I actually come to look at the house, I can see how the table fits in here, not just on a picture, but how it actually flows in person. But then there's this whole idea of virtual staging, and there's two ways to do it too. So there's Mel actually picking out the furniture that makes sense in that room and putting it in that room.
Right.
And then there's AI staging now too. Do you want to talk to those a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. I am obsessed with virtual staging. I love it, but it is quite time intensive and tedious. And I think that's why I like it, because I'm a perfectionist.
Okay.
But there's a place for it. So I myself as well would prefer physical staging if it's possible. But there's a place for virtual staging, and where that place is for me and what most of my clients use it for is supplemental staging. Right. So if they've partially staged a property, and let's say they staged the main living and kitchen area and the primary, let's say, then we will also virtually stage the bedrooms and then perhaps give some layout ideas to the basement. Yep. So it gives people an idea what they could do with the space, but then they still get that physical staging when they go there.
And then you're actually like making sure that the furniture fits the actual size of the room, right?
Yeah. So I have tried every program. I've tried all the AI stuff. I've tried to outsource just in many ways to see, like, is there a way that I can make this cheaper for our clients, faster for me? Like, what ways can I make it more efficient that we can offer this more?
Yeah.
And the difference is kind of what Mickey said in their talk is, they're staging and then they're staging. You can put stuff in the house and make it pretty. Or what they do is professional staging, where they actually consider the layout, the functionality of the home. And that's what I do. So I take a look at the style of the home, what the agents typically like. If I'm working for a specific agent, like Stacy, let's say, like I know what style she kind of likes. I try to match that. If you're sending photos up, you have to pay per image to load them into a program, no matter who you use. So they're not going to see the rest of the house. You don't really have any, and as far as revisions too, like if you say, you know what, I really don't like that coffee table, I can swap it out. Yep. So, and I've tried the AI staging and it makes it pretty, but it makes no sense at all on how you would move through the home. Yeah. And I've tried also, like if I do one room and you see 3 different angles of that same room, I match every single angle with the same furniture and scale it, which is tricky to do. But I haven't found a program yet that will do that on its own. Like it just thinks it's a new photo, so it puts different furniture in it. Yeah. So that's what we kind of do that's custom. So if someone's wondering like why I charge what I charge for virtual staging besides what an app would be, it's more because I'm spending hours on it and then looking at all those factors. It's a great thing to do if you don't have the budget for physical staging. It's a great thing to do.
So you might stage the main floor, but it's a huge house and it's got an unfinished basement, right? And your seller might not want you bringing furniture in because it just got painted. They don't want potential bangs in the walls or imprints on the carpet or whatever too.
That's right.
But I mean,
there's another one. Sorry to interrupt you, but
it's okay.
I had another one of your agents that really wanted to stage a vacant home, and it was a smoker's home, and they just like couldn't get a stager to put their furniture in there. Yeah, so we did virtual staging as an alternate.
So here's a discussion that is a different one: is ethics. So I think isn't there a show called Catfished where it's like it's about like the online dating, you know, you're not going to see what you get, whatever. Everybody puts their profile picture better when they actually look in real life and all that kind of stuff. We were at a conference and I'm what you see is what you get. So I don't touch up my photos or anything like that. And Len's like, Cody, I think you're the only person up there without a like a edited photo of you, because I see these people in real life and they look different. I'm like, well, there's no point in me presenting differently in person than on my business card. But anyways, to bring that to an ethics discussion, because I think of virtual staging, I think of photos that, you know, distort room sizes. I think of, I guess how Matterport takes away the ability to hide what we don't like, and it brings everything to the forefront. And so I appreciate the ethics that Matterport brings into it because it shows everything. And then really good professional photography doesn't distort. It accurately shows what's there. Right. And then virtual staging, like, where do we draw the line with that too? And maybe it's a weird discussion, but like, if it's not done with care and discretion and with an eye, like if you put a virtual king-size bed into a room that doesn't actually fit a king-size bed, like what does that do to the consumer that's looking at it at home? And I guess, how do you guys process the ethics side of it?
We get asked all the time to Photoshop things out of photos.
Yep.
And so we sort of follow a here today, gone tomorrow sort of thought process with that. We had an agent once ask us to Photoshop out a crack in the ceiling that was the length of the entire property. So clearly there was some structural damage there.
Yep.
And we said no, obviously. But, you know, bumps and bruises in the paint, if the painter's coming tomorrow and it's going to be gone tomorrow, then that's a quick fix. That's not a problem. Anything beyond that, if it's going to misrepresent the property, would definitely be unethical, and it wouldn't be something that we would look at doing. We want to make it beautiful.
Yep.
But at the same time, there has to be a line.
Yep.
Right? Like, and that's where it's like, does this look misleading to me? And I will always check the Matterport too.
Yep.
When I'm going through a space if I haven't physically been there, because generally it's Jer and our teammate Cole that are out shooting the real estate side of things.
Yep.
I think that goes to headshots as well. I don't know if you want to touch on that, but like when it comes to your own personal brand as a realtor or any business individual, you know, Jer and I were having this conversation the other day about, you know, you show up and someone's headshot is 20 years younger than them in real life.
Yep.
He said something that I thought was really valuable. He said, wear your stripes with pride.
Seriously.
You know, like go ahead and say, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, hire a professional photographer who will light you and make you look the best that you can look, but it'll be the best representation of you. Yeah, you're a little bit dressed up. Maybe you have your hair done that day. You don't have to wear a gown if you're somebody that's normally in
it's
sweats.
Not your graduation. Yeah.
But you could still, you could up level a little bit because there is a place to be professional.
Yep.
But you should look like you. So I tell that to the girls too when they're coming in for headshots. I say,
like that. Wear your stripes proudly. Yep.
Yeah. Makes
a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's been a great discussion so far. Anything that you want to leave our viewers with, Mel?
No, I know for previous conversations that you've had with other people on the show, I know it stuck out to me. I was watching Sebastian's episode.
Yep.
And he was saying that you often have people that are experts in their area on the show, and that when you hire an expert, to hire someone who cares.
Yep.
That was a little bit of information that we got from that speaker as well. I ended up doing some workshops with her, and we were at this event and we were dancing after, you know, the whole event was done. It was like a charity event and we had filmed it. And so now we're kind of just letting loose and having fun at this event after dinner. And she says to me, you guys are going to be successful. You know how I know? She says, it's not hard. You just have to care. You just have to care more than everyone else.
Yep. And people
it
can
sounds
tell
like
when you care.
sounds like easy advice, but there's so many businesses out there that we've been to that's like, how are these people still in business? And it really upsets me because we lay awake at night and we think about like how we can do things better, how we can serve our clients better, how we can
Was the
improve
toilet seat
things.
up?
You know, and so to that, I would say to anybody who's listening, who's in the real estate industry, because I know there's going to be a lot of agents listening, some of them new, just care about your clients more.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're going to be successful.
Love it. So if I can pull out a few things, and it's advice to not even just the real estate industry or anything like that, even not even just to entrepreneurs or business owners, but it was do what you love, do it the best you absolutely can, have the right tools in your belt to get the job done, and care about the people that you're serving. If you can do those things, you're going to love what you do and you're going to do a great job.
Sounds easy enough.
Cool. Well, let's go on with our day and just live by that then.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me on, Cody.
Thanks so much, Mel. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the show, folks. Please keep in mind that this show is not offering legal, financial, or accounting advice, but rather opinions and experiences in the world of real estate from the host and the guests. If you're enjoying the show, please rate, review, and share with your friends and colleagues. And if you think that there's someone that needs to be on this show, please feel free to connect them with me. Or if there's a topic that should be discussed, feel free to let me know. Thank you so much, and bye for now.